Hey, howdy everyone, Tony here. I hope you're doing well. Today I will be utilizing the TDU method of analysis to look for potential setups in the charts. Let's see what we can find. First, if you want to learn more about the TDU method, check out the site. If this video is helpful or you learned something new, please like and subscribe to stay updated with my analysis. Now let's dive into it. I want to go over this chart real quick. Nothing too big. This is the weekly. We've been pretty much going sideways the last week, so nothing too exciting in the lower time frame, but this is the larger levels to keep an eye on. We don't know for sure if this is the top. It's looking like that's the most likely, but we don't quite know for sure. This would be the ideal area in here to see a bounce up. Now, for us to be bullish, it can't just bounce up. We have to see a bounce up, beat this level here at 90, either blast up above it and put the nail in there, or at least squeak above it and come back and find support on this area. So those two things have to coincide. We bounce out of this area of interest, and then we regain this level here for potential for us to go to an all-time high. Because this is a little bit unclear, I mean, right here, it looks like a pretty decent impulsive move down just by the swings of it. So if we get a correction back up here, anywhere around here, I'm going to be looking to short in the 91 area. It all depends how we come up. Looking at the further down on this is still questionable what's really going on, but this is the main level we have to watch. Bounce out of here. This is on the log scale. Same thing for arithmetic. The only thing that changes on the arithmetic is the larger degrees. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We see that we get the golden zone here a little bit closer down, and we can find some support on these levels as well because we have this PA in the past. So even if we break down, I think we have to consider that, okay, this wave 5 is complete potentially, and we're coming down and finding support. It might be just the A wave coming down here, and then we're going to go up for a larger B wave and then down for the C wave. That's a possibility. If this is an extended wave 5 here, that's the typical spot we're going to look for a bounce at least. It's down in these areas if it's not already happening. So keeping an eye on this area as well between 65 and 50, looking for a bounce there if this is going to keep kind of a higher degree situation rolling here, that we're still in a bull market. This is just if this is an extended fifth wave, this could just be a reaction point for the A wave down for a deeper retracement. So depending on how this finishes, if we can feel confident that this is some motive wave down, we're really looking for just a bounce up. We want to see this level break. This is the big level we have to see break here. So correction back to this area, I think we're going to be looking for a move down at a larger degree correction if we do get a corrective wave move back up here that can't break this area. When I say break, I mean we break above it and then we correct above it or to it for continuation. We just get a little breach up, not too exciting, okay? These are the levels at arithmetic. We go back to log, we get a lot deeper. So we come back down. If we're going to do some deeper retracement here, and we end up breaking all this support, which would be a big deal. This would be the lower levels to look at. We have a little oasis here that could play, and it's at the 50 of the whole move on logarithmic. Same thing down here. We have some nice confluence here as well at this level if we end up going that low. Are we going to go that low? Good. It's all on the PA and how we're doing. So just to go over, these levels are ideal hold points for me. But if we end up breaking down beneath them and correcting back to them, they're going to turn into ideal spots for me to look for a potential short or turn into resistance. So they can play both ways. So just because we break down doesn't mean these levels aren't useful. If they break down, we're going to be watching for the underside. If they break down and we do a little breach and we pop back above, I'm going to be looking for a correction above it for a continuation there too. So these are some of the bigger levels to keep an eye on for me as far as the Elliott wave count goes. I think this is the most plain Jane on this PA that displays some interesting aspects of the Elliott wave theory. So keep this thing nice and short. Bulls need to break above 90 or 91 out of an area of interest would be what we're in now. Find support on these levels would be ideal. And then we can say this is a potential fifth wave and we're still rolling up to be like the 1 of the 5, let's say. We can still hold on to the 4 maybe. We really want to, we can do that until we breach this level down here. But if we're still rolling in a bull market, this is how I would count it for now, is say that we're going to extend with this wave. We got a 1, 2, and then we're headed up for the 345, which would take us pretty far up. All right, down here on the 1 hour now. As we can see here, we've gotten just the same old thing going on. We've been putting in lower highs and lower lows. This may not have to count that because it's just a wick up. Didn't get a body close above, but just the look of it is lower highs up here, and we're getting lower lows down here. So we're still in a downtrend officially. Nothing has really changed on this larger degree. The smaller degree, of course, we've gotten some lower highs or some higher highs and some higher lows as we've been going up here. We haven't quite broken any structure here quite yet, but it's looking like it's a big corrective down. Now, this could go a couple ways if we just take this into a bubble here. Could have this as some flat, or you could have this as the initial actionary wave down, and this is the corrective wave before we move down. I have this delineated, or I have this identified as a potential diagonal up. Question is, what does it belong to? If it is a diagonal, this is all questionable price action here. You might meet some people that are going to be super confident on what they see here. I'm sure they've been confident plenty of times and been incorrect. So me staying a little bit unsure has saved me in the past. So I think we have a nice swift move. Hopefully we can use this as a clue. Doesn't mean it is a clue. So I guess the question is now, are we going to be able to hold this level and break down? We're bouncing out of the golden zone pretty good, out of the golden corner pocket. So if we can continue holding this level, one would surmise that we could go down for a potential C3 setup here, depending on where you think we are in this whole count. I guess I would delineate this as a diagonal, something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some of this is a little bit sus in here. I could definitely see this as the ABC in here, and that would complete this 3-wave move situation that we have going on up here. So now we want to see a further retracement. Typically, when we're looking at diagonals, we want to see 786 or down to the wave 2. So that would put us further down to this area. I think we have support down at the 78 level. So if we do get some corrective move that comes down this area, this would be the area I'm looking at. And we do have some other confluence here with the golden zone and the 50 and all that. But we do have some levels here as well I'll be keeping an eye on. Unfortunately, this last week has been pretty lame. We ended up breaking that downtrend I was talking about last time here and poking up, but we haven't really confidently broke out of there yet. So it just looks like we did a little breach up of that trend line. I'll show you real quick. So the trend line went something like this, and we've ended up breaking it, but not super confidently. Anytime we get a little breach above an area of interest and immediately reject, not the best look for the bulls. So keeping that in mind, we are like riding it down. We could maybe turn it around, but at this point, it's looking like we have swift move down and then a correction up. So if we'd like this as a zigzag, we do have a 3-3-3-3-3 situation, which means it could be either a leading diagonal or an ending diagonal. So we'll have to look at this further out and decide what we think is going on down here. If we think this is the orthodox end and we're heading up, this could be a good sign for us that we're moving up. When we get a diagonal as well, typically we're going to look for an extended wave 3 or a swift move in the wave 3. So if we do come down corrective, I'm not going to hate on the bulls to consider this area for a long. If we come down correctively and all that stuff, if we just end up dumping at open or something, obviously that's going to make things a little bit differently. But for bulls, I wouldn't hate on you if you decided to take a potential jab here. But we could always wait and see how we get this PA printed out, and then wait for reaction out of an area of interest. Come back up to an area of interest impulsively, and then correctively to an area of interest, and then look for some further upside from there. So there's a couple things we can do. We can wait for confirmation, all that stuff. Unfortunately, this week, like I said, has been pretty lame so far. We got a little breach up, but nothing too big. We've been going sideways in a 4,000K range, which isn't the most fun to deal with. So I think breaking these levels, these internal levels here, this should be yellow. Okay, these two internal levels here might be a clue as to which way it decides we want to go. You can see here it's played as resistance here and support here. So if we can get a decisive move up, correct back to one of these levels with our other confluences, I think that'd be a pretty good luck. And then further down, we'd have to look at this level for a potential play, and then look to our area of interest as far as the fibs goes as we get further down into the discount and golden zone areas. Looking at this bigger picture, Still liking this as a three-wave move up, three-wave move down. But as I was discussing in my last video, I don't think I put it out on Twitter or X or anything, but the last time I put out a video, I was thinking this could be a bunch of different sideways complex correction variations. If we think this was the end somehow, that's great. We're going to be heading up. This diagonal right here is a nice clean, or this diagonal would be our motive wave, and then we're going to be looking for a correction here and a potential confluences before we get a move up. Now, this could go into another different ways. Typically, in sideways corrections, you want to see a deeper retracement. They're basically the same thing as a flat. They're just a different variation of a flat style correction or a sideways style correction. So we're looking for that deeper retracement typically. Not so much, the X wave has to typically go at least 80 to 90%, depending on who you are. And then this pattern here, typically we want to see a 1-to-1 in with actionary waves. So if I go from here to here, we don't have that. If we do have what I think we have, the other option is we could be going for a 1 or a 618, and that puts us close to where we are. Not the most ideal looking sideways complex correction here, but we could be putting in some WXY here with a zigzag in the X, with a zigzag in the W. This could be the X wave done here, and that we're putting in some flat here. This is another option I'm considering, and that would have us done here. So I think that is another potential if we're going to keep it at this degree. We might be at some bigger degree motive wave coming down this whole length here, and we'd have to see a deeper retracement. Overall, I think we'd have to be very careful about if the price action comes up to this level here. We could see it come up, sweep even high end, go deeper into the range, but we really want to see these levels turn into support and then move up. Just a little wick up and we get stuff like this. This is typical like breach behavior. This is an example of what to look for. Breaches pretty much means you're going to turn around right away. And this one actually went up for a breach, came back down, then corrected back to this level for another breach, for another move down. So that's the two things I'm looking for here on this at the larger degree. As we get a move up, maybe we spike above some of these levels. We end up breaching back and coming back down and correcting. I think with all these different variations, we're still no person's land, or we're still in a range. We're spiking up and coming back in, and direction really hasn't been set quite yet. So I think at this point, at the smallest degree, the most ideal situation is that we stay internal to this, come down for some correction, watch how this plays out. If we get a swift move down and correct it back here, then I'm going to look for a potential that this is going to turn into resistance and that we're going to head down like this. This comes down corrective and we hesitate around these areas and it's coming listing lazily down. I'm going to be looking for a long potential to head up for a potential either C wave to continue on this mess sideways, or if you think you're going to, everything's nice and bull and the bull's still on, could be an area to start looking for a move back up to some of these higher levels and at least to come back and test the 92 level. But step one for the bulls is to break this high and these highs up here to at least signal that we have a trend change at the larger degree and not just at the smaller degree like we've been doing here. We're still internal to this range. The last thing I'm looking for here, further up in this range, we were looking for broadening wedge formations to play. So anytime we got a sweep up here, it just immediately rejected and went back the other direction. Played this a couple times up here. That's my new favorite pattern because of how this played out up here. So the potential down here could be the same, just at the larger degree. Got the move up, got the move down, swept the low. We haven't came back up to test these highs, to sweep the highs yet. But maybe if we end up going back up there, I'm going to be keeping an eye on these levels to look for sweeps. We'll have to look for correlations within the Elliott wave and all that stuff. But this level here is the next big level the bulls have to beat and close above to make it an official change of trend. And then we have to retest this 92 level and see if we like that and if the bulls want to take that over for a continuation up to the upside. All right. That's all I got for Bitcoin. Going to keep this one nice and short. Not a whole lot of new action here. Nothing fun to look at. All right, doing a quick look at ETH now. Unlike Bitcoin, I don't think we have a very good looking motive potential up now. We do have this three-wave move, I believe, and not looking the most diagonally here yet. We would have to have a three-wave move up here to make this into a potential diagonal. I think we did get over it just a hair, so that does count. as far as that goes. We did get a close of that level here on the 4-hour. So we do have a new higher high here, higher low, and higher high at the moment. But this sideways action here is looking a bit corrective. It does look pretty good for an impulsive move down here. Don't really have too much sideways to go off of if we want to keep this as the 3-wave here. We reached the 200% of the 1 to the 3, and then we got a nice correction up, and we're bouncing off of the base channel here, the median of the base channel, which is a spot to look for when you're looking for a wave 4. This could be a spot that acts as resistance or support. This thesis all dies at 1767. If we get a move up there, that officially kills it. I don't really want to see this getting any bigger. We're already at a bit of a discretion as far as size goes. We got it a little bit deeper than we're used to. We're into the 1618. I can't see this go to 4, so we don't have much longer. It's going to happen here on 420, which I just realized would be an excellent time for it to just shoot up. But I think we still have a corrective move here, and that we're going to either for a bigger correction down potentially, or we're going to move down to at least sweep this low, and hopefully it's in a no-nonsense motive wave that we completed that. If I zoom out to the daily, we're bouncing off of support and resistances. 1500 is the key level to hold for bulls. If we do end up breaking down, these are the next levels I'm looking at here is 1369 and 1280. I think this turned out to be a good spot. Here's a 618 for a projection of the wave 5. So somewhere nice in this potential area here, I'm looking for a reaction out and a correction on the conservative side. This thing could just keep dumping and we get a falling knife, and I'm not trying to catch a falling knife at this point. I think the trend is still down at this point, so waiting for that reaction out of an area of interest, an impulse out, and a correction to at least look for a C wave, not a 3-wave up. We go back down to the 4-hour. You can see I have this laid out as potentially a impulse or a C wave here, a 3-wave move down. I misspoke in my last video and said like the only way we can end in a 3-wave move here is if it's a diagonal. We could go back and try and figure this out to be some WXYZ situation, and that's the only other way we can really finish in a 3-wave move here. So ideally, if we finish in a 3-wave move here, it is what it is. We're going to have to either count it as a diagonal at this section here, or we have to look to our corrective friends and see what's going on. Maybe this is just the actionary wave of correction. Maybe this is the end of it. This bounce up here, we did get a swift move up here, but the follow through isn't looking that great. And I think the level here is, if it's not some flat situation coming in here, this level here at 1472 here would be of interest to see if we can break down there. And then I think that's a good spot to look for a potential wave 4 if that's what's coming. We are getting this impulsive move down. It is a holiday weekend, so I'm not expecting too much, to be honest, but I have seen some crazy stuff happen. It's all going to be about the futures open and the open on Monday because this was such a short week here and a holiday week at that. I think next week, Monday, we might get some movement here and get some excitement since we've been pretty much going sideways in between. We have $100 move here, which is good if you catch the top or the bottom, but it does give you a lot of action in between there to jump in and out. Going back out to the bigger picture again, these levels are going to be key for me to look at here. If we head lower, I think the big spot we have to hold for bulls is going to be 1521. And then further up, we got to break above the 1767 level. Either blast it up and turn it into support or something of that nature where we just get a bump up. We get a little bump up here and turn this into support. I think that's a good first step to see some bull follow through. If we can blast up above 2000, even better. But we're looking at the first steps here to try and get in early. And I think the first step here is we start breaking 1691. Eyebrows are going to be raised, and I'm going to be looking for that to flip. We come back up to this level and do a little spike through. I'm not looking for spikes through to get all hype on. I need a spike through and a flip to support, or a blast through and some support above before I get hyped that this is coming at it. This is going to be turning here. Down back on the 4-hour, sorry to keep jumping back and forth. Down here, we do have some divergence. We have this looking as a pretty good impulsive move down where we got down here on the EWO. We have a nice little move down here for the 1. The 3 is bigger in momentum. got a trace back beyond the 0 line for the wave 4 here, and now we're peaking down beneath the 0 line and looking for a potential of less momentum here in the wave 5 to post as to add to the clues of it being an impulse completing down. So we have to see. I think holding 1691 is the first step. If we get this move down in a motive wave, I'm going to be watching for this divergence here to add to the list of clues we have that this is an impulsive move and it's coming to an end. And then at that point, if we bounce in this nice little area of confluence here for me, these in this level between 1369 and 1280, I think I'm going to be looking for a reaction out of there. Depending on how clear this is, might try and catch the turn, but on the conservative side, always looking for that reaction, impulsive move out of an area of interest, and then the retrace to a level of interest or confluence before we get that possible continuation. That's it on ETH. I want to go check out some other alts that I've been tracking in the Discord, check up on those since I've been away holiday for the last week and haven't missed too much, but want to see where they're at as well. So we'll be moving on to them next. All right, so just looking here at Cardano, Sol, and XRP on the smaller time frame. I'm not going to go super big time frame. Might zoom out a little bit, but initially our idea was here that we breaking a pretty big level on all three of these, and we're getting to move back here, and we want to see if this is going to turn into something more bullish or if we're going to get just a rejection, if this is retesting these levels and breaking down. And we'll go into each one of these here. Cardano has moved up pretty good. We had our level here at 59-ish. That's primary. And then let me zoom out a bit here. And then we had a daily level here at 61. So this is the area of interest I had. It wasn't as defined as, say, XRP, but we had a breakdown here, and we could see that it's played as resistance in the past. And that was the primary thing that caught my attention here, was that we had this move down in this level here, and we've been rejecting off of this. So this would be the first level we had to beat here, was that larger level at 61.34. Next big level that we haven't been able to get above yet is 68.89. Looks like we made some progress toward it, but we couldn't quite do it. So the question is, where are we in the count here? We were looking at this count at this rejection point, I believe, to see if we could get if this is going to turn into a zigzag to test this level, and then we're going to get a dump down, or if we were going to blast up above it or get above it and flip it into support for some possible continuation up. Here on Cardano, got a mad bag here. Came up in like a V shape, so we came down, came up. It did find resistance at this little level here, so I'm going to mark that down as the next level that we really have to beat to add to this bull momentum that looks like we have going on here. Just like some of the other assets, and I think Bitcoin's included in that, we got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 potential diagonal move up here. Just by the looks of it, and I haven't done the measurements, but just by the look of this, looks like we're sitting pretty good for a potential diagonal up. We want to be careful here that it looks like a diagonal. What if it's something else? What if it is some WXY and we're just retesting this level of interest before we get to move down? And that's we're gonna have to look for here, is how this plays out. We have some other smaller support and resistance level back here that looks like it's played a little bit, but it's all about being in this golden zone, I would say. If we come back up corrective to this level and continue up and start heading down, I think a break of this level would be a good start before we can see exactly what we have. If we're going to come down in a 3-wave or a C wave, 3-wave that way or a C wave to get continuation back up. So I'm going to be watching over the weekend here, this little golden zone area here at 63, see if we get a correction to it and a rejection. And if we start rejecting, I think it could be a good time to start looking to the downside. Okay, we could, if this is a diagonal up, we're looking for a deeper retracement near the 786. So let me clear that out. All right, so that would give us move down these lower recesses down here at 54 cents. So if this comes down, this is looking pretty corrective. So if we get a 1 ABC and this turns into some X wave and we get another ABC, I'll be looking for this first move down here as a potential short play. And if we get the move past this level, I'm going to alarm it here at 60 cents. I think depending on how it moves down, we look for a potential entry long in this area here. And then we'd have to see where the X wave ends and then do our 1-to-1 to see if everything lines up in a nice area of interest here for a potential for it to move back up. We want to wait again for the conservative play, the conservative bull play. We'd want to wait for that move down to this area of interest here and then a reaction out of there. So it's not necessarily the area of interest that we should be looking for unless you're taking profit for something like that. It's really the reaction out, how we react. If it reacts out of this nice and swiftly, it could mean that other people have found confluence in this area, and then there's a potential for it to move up and out of there. And then we can look for that corrective move back to other areas of confluence before we get that move up. It's going to be the same idea for the rest of these, but I think some of the other lines are a little bit more identifiable here and something we can use. So I think we were looking down here. I was thinking this was a potential pivot, and we were looking for the three-way move down, and we got that. But now I think we have the same situation where we have that question mark, is this a diagonal or is this something else? We've broken above the level of interest, but we haven't done so in a big forceful move. We've done this questionable move up here, which can lean toward the bear side of things. I mean, we're retesting this area to see if anybody's going to buy up here and if we're going to reject down or if we're going to reject down. So I'm going to look at this real quick and then zoom out. But this level here has been playing as support for quite a while. We got to sweep down, and then we're moving back up. Typically, when we get a sweep for liquidity or something, or a sweep of a pivot or a level, we want to see a swift move up, and then a correction above or back to the area of interest. This corrective move with ALTS being destroyed and followers in this whole game as of late, it's just following either ETH or Bitcoin, depending on which coin it is. But this isn't looking super great. Could be putting in some head and shoulders situation here. Some people say it's not, it's got the look to it. Okay, we have a level of resistance here, and we have a level of support. If we come back down here, let's say in a corrective move, say we got another sharp zigzag coming in here or a double zigzag, so we get a zigzag down to an area of interest and it starts moving up. I think this level would be a good spot to look. And then if we do have a diagonal, putting on our fibs, we would expect a shorter move, but I think in this area, depending on how things pan out here in the future, and if it does move down here, maybe I'm wrong on these retraces and we just head up, which could definitely happen. I think looking down in this area is a good spot to consider or look for a reaction at least. If we do end up coming down to this level per se to the tick and we start moving up in an impulse, we can wait for this level to break. As it's played as resistance in the past, we can look for it to flip into support and head on up. So I play this thing both ways, XRP here. If it comes down for a nice corrective into an area of interest, I'll be looking for a long. If we break up here and come back and correct to 21 or 220, I think that's a good spot to look if we don't get a rocket. If we do get a rocket up, there's other levels here, and we'll have to look for other confluence and play it as it comes. But I think this is the main level we have to look at is 220 and 195, and potentially look for a correction for long. We don't have to go all in. We don't have to play all of these the same way. You could take a little bite here, maybe take a half lot if you want, or do a half of your capital. It's all on the strat you want to use, but taking a bite down here could be a consideration if everything plays out the way we're looking for, or ideally. We still have lower highs and lower lows here, so we're still in a downtrend essentially. So playing these longs may be a little bit more risky, but there's ways to circumvent that. You get out early, you can play a little bit smaller. It's all on your strat and what works for you. So zooming out here, we zoom out, I just want to look at this and see how good this looks. So it looks pretty good here. Looks pretty good here on the daily. We did a quick sweep down. This move back above the level of interest here, or this area level of interest. Doesn't look super strong, especially with this sitting behind it. This looks like an impulsive move down. So we really want to see that move up here after we get a correction, because we did just bounce out of the golden zone directly. So if this is headed down to Bear Town or Goblin Town or whatever, this is the area to look for potential move down, and that's what I'll be doing. If we, on the smaller time frame, we get something that looks a bit more impulsive or motive wave here, we start heading down. And if this was just a test of this level that went a little bit deeper than usual, or ideally, just to sweep this inner liquidity here before some more move down. I think we're going to start looking for bear entries in this area. And right here, the first step, I think the closest step, we can break back above this and flip this. Could be step one to the bear bulls making their way out of here. But essentially, I think this looks like a potential for a corrective move up to reach for some external liquidity here potentially before we get more of a move down. But I'm going to let the PA tell the story. I'm just narrating what I would look for, and we'll see what happens. But it's all about this retrace down to these areas of interest for me. If we come down right here, I don't think there's any action right in here personally. The first step for the bulls is going to be break this level here at 210. And then the next step we definitely have to beat is this 220 because it's played as resistance so many times in the past. And then we can go from there. As you can see, I've had my path here looking for this since potentially down here. So far, it's been playing out in the direction I need. Now we need some confidence as to which direction we're thinking we're going from here. If if the if everything else decides to go up, I'm sure this stuff's just going to go up as well. But we still need some support found down here. A nice retracement, I think, would give some confidence to the bull situation. If we can't, we start breaking down this level here at 195 and we start flipping this into resistance, and I think we have to start considering the bearish alternative for sure. But this looking like a nice impulsive move down here could mean that it's the end of it. Need the bulls to prove themselves. Sol's looking better than all of them. Keeping an eye on this one for a long time here. So 122 was the level, and even further down at 120, I think I said was the main level that I would really want to see if we do break down that played as resistance. I'm just going to mark that off real quick here. So 120.51, and then I'm going to zoom in. We can see that it's came into play a little bit here. And that's really what you want to see when we do have just a sweep of a level over a retest of the underside. We did end up breaking back up. We still have not put in a higher high at this point. It's been lower high and lower lows all the way down. So we're still in a downtrend at this degree here. We're still in this range. So once we start breaking this range, we're going to have a better idea, and we can say, okay, the trend is changed. The trend is down at this degree, and it's up at the smaller degree at the moment. Looks like it's having some trouble at 136. I think we had this level marked out, and we have flipped some levels to the tick here. So 122 we were watching, and 120, of course, played as resistance. So this could have been a good spot to look for a short, but it's all about the reaction. So we had a level of interest here, and then the next step is to wait for the retrace. So we got a reaction off the level, but what did we get right after that? We didn't get a nice zigzag or something a little bit more corrective. We got a swift move up, which pretty much nullifies the potential for a C3 setup because you're really ideally looking for that internal correction. And this looks like it could have been an impulse down. We have to take that into context as well to see if this was corrective or an impulsive move, and then look for that internal retrace. But so far, the levels have been playing pretty good on this, and this is the strongest of the bounces so far. We have a swift move down here, and then we have a swift move back up, almost taking out the high where this initial dump came from. So if we zoom out, it looks like a nice V shape almost. So we're going to have to see how this goes. I think for this one, we really only have ABC set up. So we have A, B, C. Typically, when we're looking for impulses, swiftest move is going to be in the wave 3. So this is a bit of an issue for me. We are going a little bit lazily, so I'm going to put on a channel here. C. Okay, we haven't even broken out of the base channel here. We've stayed internal to the base channel, which doesn't lend too much to it being a impulsive move at this point. Of course, wave ones can be a little bit lazy and be a little bit ugly, and that could be a reason why this hasn't broken out, essentially. But this does look like a corrective move just based off of the slope of this wave 3. We have a swift move up here in the A, B down, and then our C wave here is lazy, way lazier than this initial move. So I guess this 136 level is going to be of interest for me. It didn't, let me see. So at the smaller degree, this is the next pivot, lower high, but the big one's going to be up here. The big lower high is up here that it has to beat before we get a trend change at the larger degree. We already have one at the smaller degree, and it's looking pretty good and strong. We haven't had any overlaps or anything like that. The next big level here is this 136.36. You can see we got some resistance here, and this is going to be a huge level for me because at this point, what do we have? We have an ABC. We don't have a complete zigzag yet. Depending on how you count and how you count this, this is just looking like a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have to look for another 4 or 5. So we haven't even breached this level yet. We might have breached it by tick. Yep. So it did breach a little bit. So maybe that's it. We're going to head back down. This is some wave 4 coming in at the larger degree. I'm going to be watching this level here at 120, 122 to play as support. Might have to dig down deeper to take a bit of a deeper look here, but it's looking like something like this. But this wave 3 is not looking the most healthiest ideal situation we want to see in a wave 3. We want to see the swiftest move in the wave 3s. And this so far hasn't broken out of the base channel at this degree. And even let's check this degree. And even at this lesser degree, base channel, the PA hasn't even broken out of the base channel at the lesser degree, which is all sus stuff. This all could just be a sweep to come up. Maybe we do hit some of these upper levels, but we do not have what I would call the healthiest, ideal looking impulsive move up. I'll even go down a little bit and see if there's anything different down here. Yeah, I think we get some more questionable situation down here even. So 1, 2, 3, 1 could do something like move it over. So this could be 5 in. We could have our wave 3 done, but not looking the greatest. Zoom back out. So even on this degree, the one wave is the strongest move, and then this, we're getting some divergence here on the EWO for this move up even. So it's looking pretty weak, to be honest. It's a follower. Maybe this was the support right here, and we're headed up to new highs. The first clue for me is going to be 136. That's going to be the level to beat. If I'm wrong about this correction, I'm going to be watching for this level to break above. Now, the main thing that's got me hyped on this situation is that the 5 may not be done yet. I'm not sure how much longer I want to give this for a wave 5, but we have swept it by a little bit there. But I really like to see a move up into this to sweep all this liquidity, and then a move back down, and then correction back to it for the short down here. So having levels is a great asset to have because it's a starting point where you can look at it and say, okay, if I get a break above this, 2 things are going to happen. Either we're going to get a blast off, correct above or to it, or we're going to get a breach above and then come back down. We can use that as clues in addition with the other confluence to build a case for a trade. So this isn't looking the greatest. If I zoom out a little bit, we got nothing but 3s all the way down, it looks like. So maybe this is another 3 up before we get a 3 down. I don't want to go too high up there. I just want to stick on this shorter time frame to see how healthy this bounce was, and it's not looking the greatest. So if I'm going to set some alarms here, if we get a little breach up and a retrace down, I'm going to be looking for that short. If we get a breach up, I'm going to be looking for these levels and our other confluences from TDU as to take a trade and jump in along and just admit I'm wrong and move on. All right. So that's what I'm looking for on all these assets of the lower time frame. Bigger time frame, I think still a bit of a question mark overall, but this is just what I'm planning to play in the short term. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, concerns, or comments, please leave them and I will try and answer them. Trade safe, trade clarity. Take it easy. Later.